Welcome to Late Reviews. Today I'm going to talk about Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. So I watched this in the cinema. I don't have access to the film other than some of the trailers and promotional materials. That's what I will be adding to this video. But honestly, mostly you'll probably just be having to look at my face. I apologize for that, but that's how it is. And this video is just going to be a small talk about the movie. It's not going to be an in-depth review or anything. I'm not going to dissect the plot. On it, I'll not even really talk much about the plot. I'll just talk about how the movie works and how it is compared to Fury Road. I've seen it, I would say erroneously, being described as a perfect sequel or prequel to Fury Road, that it essentially is just more Fury Road, and I do disagree with that quite a bit. And that's essentially also why I wanted to make this video. I think there have been some things floating around that I disagree with. So that's what this video is going to be, and yeah, I'll just start talking about this movie. I'll talk about what I like, what I didn't like, and some other thoughts. The first and most important thing to know is this is not an action road movie in the same vein as Fury Road. It is much slower, it's much more plot-centric. It takes place over a much longer period of time. I think it's 10 years or more. Probably even 15 years if you include the very ending of it. And as such, it tries to do much more, has many more elements. Doesn't just seem to be out there to entertain you with a lot of fun action and cool lines of dialogue. It has more characters, I would say. At least it has more memorable characters that get to be developed a bit more. Just know that this is not Fury Road 2 or Fury Road 0.1. This is a different movie. And it is, of course, completely directly tied into Fury Road's plot. So, and it does take place, of course, several years before Fury Road. So you do get to develop more of a relation and understanding of the characters of Fury Road. Not that it's necessary, but it is kind of cool to see characters like Immortan Joe, his sons, his advisors, get fleshed out a bit more, have more screen time, have more time talking, have more time bantering. It is actually quite decent in that sense. Also, there's actually a recurring character here, and I didn't really realize it when I watched the movie where I was seen him before, but one of Immortan Joe's sons, and I'm quite sure about this, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I'm right, is played by the villain, antagonist, in Never Back Down, Never Surrender, so Never Back Down 3. I did a review of that film, it's quite decent, and that big guy, I think that's the guy who was playing one of the sons in this one. Scrotus, I think his name is. So one of them is called Erectus, one of them is called Scrotus. Love the names. But I think that's enough talking about the recurring characters. Of course, you also have Furiosa as a recurring character, only that she's not really recurring. She's played by two different actresses. She starts as a child and then becomes an adolescent, a teenager, and then a young adult. So essentially you have multiple characters playing her. I think that two actresses, I could be wrong, and none of them is Charlize Theron. So, I don't know, if you love Charlize Theron, don't expect her from this movie, but honestly, you probably didn't need me to tell you that she's not in it. But this character, this actress, she's doing a fine job. Both of them are, or all of them are, essentially. The acting in this movie is generally very good. I do have some problems, but it's not so much with the acting, it's with the direction, I think. And the new characters, because that's probably where the movie shines, mostly shines. Right away, I have to mention Dementus. Dementus is the villain. He is this very eccentric character. I mean, you kind of get it from someone calling himself Dementus. He's portraying himself as this more Greek-Persian legend. He has this, I forgot what they call it, it's not the scholar, but the teller or something. So he's the one who knows the stories of the past. And he's basically his own lexicon, his own Wikipedia. And when he goes to bed, he has this old man tell him the stories of the past, so he can be filled with the knowledge of the past. And I guess that's also how he has been influenced with some of these more ancient ideas, because other than that, why would he have these things? He doesn't really talk in relation to old gods or anything, so it's more just, I think, stylistically it's cool, but it's not reused that much in the story. And yeah, Dementus, he's demented, makes sense, so that is a nice name to give him. He's great. This Dementus character, he's so great. I love his portrayal of the stylistics, even though it might not make too much sense and be a bit silly. It's silly in a very cool and entertaining way. He's played by Chris Hemsworth, and he's really doing a good job here. He's really demented, as his name would suggest, and he's always wearing this cape, and it's very loose and very big, so he's also using it as a makeshift tent to hide himself from the sun. from the Namibian sun, because if you don't know this, Mad Max is shot in Namibia, which is funny. You don't really get those sand dunes in Australia, so you have to go to Namibia to get it. I don't know, it's funny to me. I don't know if it's funny to anyone else, but I do like just, it's the outback, the African outback in Namibia that this movie is taking place in. But yeah, he's great in it. He also has an arc. Not so much that his personality changes, just a lot happens to him in the story, and he gets to change in a lot of very intriguing ways. I said I didn't want to talk too much about the plot, but I can say it is about Immortan Joe and Dementus having this struggle going on, and a lot of things happen to that struggle. It takes a lot of shifts and turns that are quite cool. So one thing I really actually wish the movie had done more would be to explore the universe more. There's so much they could do with the Mad Max universe, and it feels really underdeveloped. And I think that is the biggest issue with this prequel, that yes, it opens up in a different location, but after that it's just pretty much the exact same locations, or it really doesn't change that much in the locations from the Fury Road, and you actually get to see even less because much less of it is on the road. So I think that there's a lot of lost opportunities, especially because they made it a prequel. But even then, making it a prequel, they could have shown more of the universe, but they just want to make this barren wasteland that actually gets really boring in the end. I think that is a downside of it. So I said, yeah, the acting is good. The plot is essentially decent. It has a lot of nice developments, where I think it has some shortcomings. Being a Mad Max movie, it is insanely stupid. There are so many issues with the world building, with the logic. There are so many plot holes. But this is just what you should expect from a Mad Max movie. At this point, I'm not even frustrated. It just gets so silly. Silly fun. That's what it's... But I think it works more in Fury Road, because Fury Road is just silly action fun. Here, they try to develop a more serious story. They're not trying to do Shakespeare, but they're trying to, or George Miller is trying to make a more serious story here. And then having it being as stupid, as silly, that does have a negative effect for the movie, more so than in previous films. So that's one issue I have. Again, they could have explored the world a bit more. That's another issue. And here, it's more personal, but it has a lot of quirky characters. Because it's a Mad Max movie, of course it has quirky characters. It's up to you if you like them. They have too much screen time, in my opinion. There are so many annoying characters in the movie. Some of them quickly die or leave the movie for one reason or another, but some of the other ones stay in the movie for too long, and there's especially one guy who's kind of Dementus jester or something. I don't know even what he is, but he's just really annoying. The first 2 times you see him, it's kind of funny to have this weird guy, but he's just in it for way too long. He did start to get on my nerves, but that's more personal, I think. I can see why you would have him in the movie. It's just, it wasn't for me. That was just a small pet peeve of mine. I think the absolute biggest issue for me in some of the scenes is this movie is crammed full of CGI. It does use the CGI well at times. It does use it when it makes landscapes. In the broader graphics of the world, it looks nice. It has some decent CGI camera work that does look nice, but it does ruin a lot of the action scenes for me. So this movie doesn't have as many action scenes as Fury Road. One of them does take place on a war rig. They just have so much CGI that it looks like a video game. It looks like a cutscene in a video game, and it completely removed my immersion. I could no longer believe in anything that was happening. I didn't feel that anything was at stake. I didn't feel that anything I was seeing was real. And of course, it's a movie. It's not real. But movie magic is supposed to make you feel like it's real, not to remove your immersion. So if you are having a huge battle that has so much at stake, and that essentially should be so cool, and it just looks so goofy because that's the result of it. It doesn't not just not look real. It actually ends up looking really goofy. It looks like a cartoon. I wish I could show you this scene right now, because I think this was potentially one of the 2 best scenes in the movie had they just used less CGI. The CGI, or even not even necessarily less, just in a different way. I think it really ruined this scene. I don't know if I'm alone on this. I didn't watch it alone, so I talked to a few of the people I watched it with, and they also had issues with it. I think I had bigger issues than they had, but it is just another example of I do way too small work in CGI, but it's more so because I don't like how abundantly CGI is used. It can do amazing things, it's just not always amazing. But that's again another small pet peeve. No, that's not a pet peeve, that's a big issue actually. This is a 2.5 hour movie, and it didn't feel like a 2.5 hour movie really, but it almost did. Like it was, the problem is the ending. So the ending is both sped up, it's too fast and skips over too much, and it's drawn out. So there's a huge battle you don't see. There's a huge, like, okay, this sounds so cool. This is going to be a huge battle. The battle you kind of waited for the entire movie. You see the aftermath. You don't see the battle. I don't know if it was a budget thing or if George Miller just thought it was fun to pull this kind of prank on his audience. Essentially, for the plot, it actually doesn't matter that much that you see it or not, because, not spoiling much, it's not exactly Furiosa's battle. She doesn't have much invested in it, but she kind of does. But at the same time, it's just... It sucks a bit that you don't see this battle. But it's also funny. I mean, it does feel like he pulls a prank on the audience, which I actually kind of have to applaud. It's a bullshit thing to do. It's kind of bullshit, but it's cool bullshit. I can almost like it, and I think I can like it. I can appreciate it, but it's also annoying. So that's one thing. And then you have a very, very long, way too long conversation or discussion at the end between two characters. I will not say who. That's what I mean. If you go into this thinking, oh, this is Mad Max, people are not really going to talk, they're just going to shoot. This movie, they talk and talk and talk and talk. I don't mind movies that talk, but you shouldn't expect that necessarily from a Mad Max movie. And this is very dialogue heavy at times. Not at all times, but at times. And it really drags down the ending. I really don't like how I was just sitting. So I know that there were, 5-10 minutes left of the movie, and I just want to leave. I want to leave it, like, get over with. And I don't like that. A movie shouldn't end on a negative note. I don't know if it only ended for me. Again, I talked to the people I watched it with. They had similar feelings. They didn't like that they talked so much at the ending. It really does feel stupid. It should be over with much faster. I didn't like that. Also, one thing that did annoy me a bit, but that's just a pet peeve, they really just spent the last part of the movie tying it to the beginning of Fury Road. They didn't need to do that. We know what's happening in Fury Road. We didn't need to see it. And not just that, the credits are all scenes from Fury Road. That's the first time I've seen credits that go, hey, do you remember the other movie we made? Maybe you should see that one again. I had never seen that in credits before. That was wild. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I was taken a bit aback by that. Not that it lessens my experience with the movie anyway, it's just the ending was fizzled out a bit it was a bit of a wet fart at the end, and I am sad that the movies ended on that note. Praetorian Jack, another very great, I love that character, I forgot the actor's name, but he's great in the movie. So harking back, the movie is generally good. I can generally say good things about it, I can generally recommend it. It is a flawed movie. It is a movie that could do much more than it does, or that maybe should do less than it does. It kind of has a leg in both camps. It has a leg in action, and the action is sometimes great. It's sometimes spectacular. It's sometimes Mad Max magic. And then it has the drama. All the elements that go on with Furiosa, her life in this universe that is not really explored as much as it could be, or it kind of is. We maybe didn't need more with it, but it just feels a bit conflicted, and you can definitely have action movies that both have a lot of character development, that have a lot of quirky characters, that have a lot of drama, that have I don't know what even else to call this, but that has what this movie is doing, and a lot of action. I just don't think the movie does it as well, especially because some of the writing is not good. As I said, the plot, there's some issues with this that just doesn't sit right. Anyway, I think I've said what I want to say. So if you still have the chance to see it in the cinema, you should probably watch it in the cinema. This is a movie you should watch in the cinema and not at home. I did a while back review all the Mad Max movies. If you haven't seen that, you can go back to check that review out if you want to. But that's what I have to say. I hope you found this just a tiny bit useful. I hope I didn't shit on the movie too much for your taste if you've already seen it and somehow see my talk about it. Well, anyway, enjoy the movie, enjoy your life. Ciao. But this one, fucking hell.